Hello, we are Team A, and our project is on UL Lafayette Security Assessment. We will focus this assessment on the UL Library. On this slide, I'll talk about the scope of the project. The objective of this assessment is to identify areas of opportunity to enhance the information security of UL Lafayette. Our team will apply the methodology of the Business Aligned Security Program to assess the organization's ability to manage risk while adhering to the business strategies of the university. This will consist of analyzing the current rules and policies in place to manage risk of the enterprise, assessing the roadmap for the future growth and changes, and ensuring that threat detection and response are proportional to the assessments protected. Security is an ongoing process of discovery and assessment. Our team will identify areas to improve on the solid foundation already in place by the university.
ULL Library of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Security. Enterprise operational risk. Information risk. The library stores data from several different sources and applications. The categories are as follows. System security level. The UL Lafayette security team uses a classification scheme to access the sensitivity of the data and inherent risk associated with it. Public data covers data that can be freely shared with individuals inside and outside of the university. Sensitive data. Information deemed sensitive requires protection from disclosure and modification. This information is typically for in-house use only and not meant to be seen by the public. Restricted data. This information can potentially identify an individual and requires the most security. The data categories are as follows: HIPAA, FERBA, research, employee, business, and management. Business operations management. Roles and responsibilities selected from the IT service department of the university are as follows: to protect and support and enhance computing and networking facilities which serve the academic and administrative needs of the university. Responsibilities are as follows: to provide, support, and enhance campus computing and networking facilities with emphasis on those which benefit multiple academic disciplines or administrative subunits. To establish policies and procedures which promote equitable access for computing and campus users and appropriate use of campus technology. To maintain the information technology infrastructure continuity plan. To respond to the needs and priorities of the administrative and support needs of faculty and student body of the university. To evaluate campus technology requirements and project future needs. To advise and or assist members of the campus community in the use of whatever technology is appropriate for the accomplishment of their university-related activities. Business operations systems are as follows: Zimbra, Webmail, Barracuda, Spam Mail, Easy Proxy. Reputation risk. The risk to the university's reputation is managed and ensured by ensuring the availability, reliability, ease of use, and authenticity of its services. The methods used to mitigate risk of the university are as follows: Computer Incident Response Team, CIRT. The primary directive of this team is Incident Response Management, which manages UL's Lafayette responses to events that pose risk to our computing environment. CRT and Public Relations. The goal of this plan is to maintain the public's confidence during inherent incidents to defend the university's reputation. Sensitive information is protected. Information and technology response use policy is in place for reference and training. Legal and regulatory risk. Universities complied with the following legal acts: Patriot Act, HIPAA, FERPA. Business strategies, growth and profitability. The current IT infrastructure accommodates the growing needs of the library. Network storage is available on-site and is scalable. The library currently uses a 2 terabyte store for staff and faculty file sharing. It also has a 5 terabyte store for archival materials. The ITSO manages growth of the organization well by placing legacy systems with current tools and resources, anywhere, anytime clients. The IT group achieves this through providing domain access to files regardless of the machine used to log in, as long as the individual is on campus. Market-driven business. This market involves monitoring the market from patrons' perspective and vendors' perspective.
Hello, my name is Arthur Almazan, and I'm going to talk to you about the threat strategy for UL Lafayette. So, the threat strategy components can be broken down into three main areas: the ability to protect our assets, the ability to detect malicious attacks on the network, and then most importantly, the ability to react to those. To protect the network, there's a few components that go into making sure that we have a good view of what's happening. Protection comes down to access control, which is going to be ensuring that users are using the minimum amount of privilege necessary to access the resources they need to do their work. Then also, there's a component of authenticating that this person is who they say they are, because the backbone of UL Lafayette security policy is CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So authentication ties in directly into the confidentiality portion of ensuring the proper person is accessing materials that they are approved to see. To continue in protecting the domain, we have to ensure that everyone has a good security awareness and training background to understand the risks that can come along with poor information awareness. We also have data security, which ties into the integrity of the philosophy of the group to ensure that data is correct and that it has not been altered. And also a part of this portion, we will talk about the firewall. In the detect strategy component, we're also going to look at anomalies and events on the network. We're going to take a look at security continuous monitoring, which is part of their way of making sure everything is as it should be at a glance, and also those detection processes that are used to ensure that everything is correct. And lastly, we have the react category. This is where things like response planning will come into effect, the communication channels used to relay what needs to be done up and down the chain of command. Also, the analysis of events that happen, because part of being a good reactionary group is not only addressing the problem, but also analyzing what went wrong, your response to it, and seeing where improvements can be made for future attacks on the network. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the improvements or the areas of improvements that we see for this group. Because the other components of the protect portion of the threat strategy model is, they're very self-descriptive, as in access control and authentication are very obvious to what they mean. We're going to specifically zero in on the firewall in this case, since this is where the most configuration is done to protect us. So in this case, the university makes use of the intrusion detection system, Fortinet. This firewall is used to protect network resources. So the way the network is set up is that users must authenticate before passing through the first level of the firewall. Behind that, there's a DMZ, where after they're approved, they can pass through to network resources. So the figure below provides a view of the network map and the avenues of access. The rectangles represent firewalls, blue circles are zone routers, and purple circles are core routers. Green circles represent just other routers on the network. On this slide, we're doing a brief overview of detection on the network. So the university makes use, again, of Fortinet as an intrusion detection system, and Sophos, which is for station-level monitoring, to check for anomalies and track events. They've also developed custom in-house tools to have a manageable dashboard display of pertinent information, so that way team members can at a glance see if there's anything alarming or that needs to be investigated on the network. So the following figures provide some of these custom dashboards that were created. Now on the left here, you can see very quickly at a glance that all of the base services, firewall, internet access, routing, and wireless are in the green, which is good. If there's any issues here, there would be a red notification, and the little question mark attached to, let's say in this case DNS, would give you more information as to what's happening that's preventing the network from functioning as it should. On the right side of the screen is a view of the UL network status. So this can be set to either a day, a week, or a month view to kind of get a snapshot of the health of the network. But this is particularly useful because it can tell you again at a glance what services are available and what alerts are attached to them for just quicker reaction, quicker response, and ensuring that these issues are resolved as quickly as possible. The easy proxy portion of this is very useful to the library because we know immediately at a glance if we need to go and restart or repair our easy proxy server, which is one of the services that impacts us the most, because our mission is to connect students to the resources that they need and faculty to complete whatever function or job they're trying to do. So the better information that we have from these alerts, the more prompt we can respond to getting those services back up and running. For the React portion of this threat model, we have here on the screen how they handle reacting to incidents, the communication lines, and their analysis. We're going to focus on our improvements just to stay within the confines of the length of this video. Now, the UL IT Security Office is very prepared to handle any attacks and possible risk situations that may occur on their network. So from what we've seen, we really think that they're doing a great job and they can just do more of what they're already doing. So in this case, our main suggestion is to perform more simulated attack scenarios. So what we're thinking in this case is that more practice can just, enhance that ability to react and the efficiency of the IT Security Office. The team could benefit from regular training and practice. Simulated breaches can help identify weaknesses in the current response plan and identify bottlenecks in the process. This practice will strengthen response plans without putting critical systems at risk. It is difficult to make time for such exercises during the semester, so our recommendation is just to use the intersession periods to test existing procedures as part of a yearly audit.
For this section of the video, Salsi and I will discuss the Enterprise Information Risk Management portion of the project. Okay, on this slide, I'll discuss project management and governance. The IT group uses policies and governance to guide the decisions made by users, administrators, managers, and the IT staff. The policies also lay the foundation of the configuration and auditing of systems. The group uses these policies to implement systems, enforce policy through the use of security tools, segregate the areas of responsibility for different user roles, establish clear communication channels for all concerned parties, ensure employees have read and understood security policies, and annually review systems. The group adheres to the CIAA principle of confidentiality, availability, integrity, and accountability of security program management. Some examples are hackers, masquerading, and unauthorized user activity. Hackers and masquerading are a high risk, and to counter them requires password hardening principles and two-factor authentication. Unauthorized user activity is considered a low risk level, and to combat this problem, UL uses user access policies. On this slide, I will cover network and application security. To ensure that network resources and applications are utilized by authorized users on a need-to-use basis, the network structure of this university segregates traffic to minimize the damage of an attacker. The following table lists the techniques used to mitigate risk. Some techniques are firewalls, DMZ, remote access control, access restriction, connection restriction, time restriction, protocol restriction, data encryption, and as well as many other techniques. Firewalls allow UL to have anomaly-based detection and prevent unwanted access. DMZ allows for resource protection behind layers of authentication. Protocol restriction limits the protocols and services available to portions of the network based on need. UL also uses IDSs to detect malicious code on user stations. I will discuss data protection and security operations on this portion of the video. Data security is controlled by the Data Standards Committee. The Data Standards Committee consists of EAS Business Intelligence, Identity Management Subcommittee, the Chief Human Resource Officer, student system registrar, undergraduate admissions, graduate admissions, and many other departments under them. To aid with information handling, the IT group created a hierarchy of information classification. The following information is sourced from UL Lafayette's Information Security Policy. Public data covers information that can be disclosed to any person inside or outside the university. Sensitive data covers information that requires protection against unauthorized disclosure, modification, destruction, and use, but the sensitivity of the information is less than that for confidential information. Restricted data covers sensitive information about individuals, including information identified in the Human Resource Manual, and sensitive information about the university. Some examples of restricted data are protected health information covered under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, of 1996. Research subjects, law center clients, library patrons, and donors and potential donors. Current, former, and prospective employees, including employment, pay, benefits data, and other personal information. Certain university business operations, finances, legal matter, and other operations of a particular sensitive nature. Information security data, including passwords, and information about security-related incidents. Default classification is when information that is not classified explicitly is classified by default. An example of this would be information falling into one of the confidentiality categories listed above is treated as confidential. Our team proposes that the policy is created for the sensitive data category regarding the encryption used to protect it. This can help protect the user and the university in the event of a data breach. Now I will cover the last 5 parts of the enterprise information risk management. Identity and access management needs access control. Access control requires that the system is able to identify a user and apply the appropriate amount of access. A security team follows the principle of least privilege. This grants the user the minimum amount of access necessary to perform their duties. This linking of activities on a computer and the individual requires identifying the individual. The security team describes the components of identifying the individual by the following metrics. There are 3 means of authenticating a user's identity. They are something the individual knows, something the individual possesses, something the individual is. Next, I will cover application security. Application security for the university is implementing identification and authentication through a combination of user ID or social security number combined with a user password for all systems. The standards that are needed to make a policy are: password lifetime should be restricted. Users should create passwords that are not dictionary words for names. Users should create passwords using a mix of alphabetic, numeric, and special characters. Users should create long passwords, which tend to be more secure. Many operating systems can configure to lock a user ID after a set number of failed login attempts. This helps prevent guessing of passwords. Known only to the creator, long enough to be secure, hard to guess even by someone who knows the user well, easy to remember, and easy to type accurately. Now we will discuss incident and security operations. Incident and security operations is needed to reduce risk. To reduce risk, the group has created standard operating procedures to accelerate the response to mishaps and mitigate the effect of an attack. Without a proficient expert response, incidents could result in severe damage to the university. Incident handling is closely tied to the contingency plan efforts, and both require fast, efficient responses. The management consists of the following: coordinating the notification and distribution of information pertaining to the incident to the appropriate parties. Mitigation risks to the UL Lafayette computing services by minimizing the disruptions to normal business activities and the costs associated with remediating the incident. Assembling teams of security technical analysis and forensic team to investigate the potential vulnerabilities and resolve specific intrusions. Management of network logs, including collection, retention, review, and analysis of data. Business continuity is our next topic to go over. The IT group works to identify risks that could affect the core CIA principles such as security failures, disasters, and loss of service. The team regularly audits itself to understand their level of preparedness for their scenarios. Internal risk assessments gauge the likelihood of a situation and the expected consequences should the situation arise. Now we will cover the final topic, which is physical and personal security. When it comes to physical and personal security, humans are the weakest link of information security systems. The university safeguards its assets by ensuring that the users have the appropriate level of access to its information systems. To achieve this goal, the university has created policies regarding users' permission level, potential hires are screened for risk, documented process for disabling employee access during out processing. All employees are required to sign the acceptable use of electronic resource agreement. Physical security also accounts for the technologies used to safeguard assets. The university has designated the following policies and procedures to protect its systems. Mission-critical system facilities should be located in a secure location that is locked and restricted to authorized personnel only. Access to critical computer hardware, wiring, displays, and networks should be controlled by rules of least privilege. System configurations of critical systems should be documented. Installations and changes to those physical configurations should be governed by a formal change management process. And finally, a system of monitoring and auditing physical access to critical computer hardware, wiring, displays, and networks should be implemented. And this concludes our video on the UL Lafayette Security Assessment for the UL Library.